Hey guys, it's Elliot here with another video from biteoftheapple.wordpress.com for all your ad-free Apple news. Today we're going to talk about the iPad. Got the iPad here, little twitchy iPad. What I want to talk about today, a little different than what most reviews are going to do. I want to talk more about what the iPad means rather than what the iPad is. We all know what it is. It's a big iPod Touch. Yes and no. The iPod Touch is designed for mobile computing experiences. It's what Apple has designed it for. To sell a Wi-Fi version of the iPad, Apple is telling you this is a home computing device, or to be carried to destinations rather than on the go as an iPhone or iPod Touch. Well, the iPod Touch also only has Wi-Fi, but that's more of, again, a personal music player than it is a iPad-like device. The iPad is a fantastic device, and I think it's going to change computing for the good. A lot of people have mentioned that they don't like how they're hiding the file system, and Apple's basically telling you how to use a computing experience. It's what they call closed platform. I was originally a big component of closed platforms because I thought it stifled innovation, but I'm starting to think a little differently now. The apps on the iPad are on the iPhone OS in general are by far the best applications you can find on the mobile market, be it Android, Windows Phone, Palm Pre. The iPhone is by far the best, and that's clearly not, Apple is not stifling their ability to be creative. There's an approval process for apps, as you all know. There's been some horror stories, but there's horror stories for everything. And I think Apple's done a really good job at making the computing platform easy enough for a 5-year-old or an 85-year-old. It's a really quality computing experience that gets out of the way and lets you get your computing done. Mac OS X has been kind of the champion of this. Everything is a clean UI, easy to use, not as powerful maybe as Windows, but much easier to use, much less focusing on the OS and getting more work done. I like the idea of the iPhone OS because it allows you, again, it takes that cruft away from an OS. If you were to design an operating system in 2010, you wouldn't build OS X or Windows because it's too complicated. It's not easy to use. A computing experience is applications. Everything that we use on our desktop are apps, be it Office, be it iWork, iMovie, Evernote. All of these are applications, which the iPad does extremely well. And it takes away that cruft of having to install, moving files, making sure the file got installed. If the file's corrupt, there's no viruses on the iPad. It's really, I think, the future of computing. What I would really like is to have an iPad, an iPhone OS Mac kind of on the same computer. Being, that ease of use that we haven't had before. Applications, this is one of the things where Apple has said, we have 150,000 applications already available to you. It's not really true. Just let me give you a demonstration. The iPad, an iPhone app on the iPad is not a good experience. Give you an example here. We'll use an iPad app. Use the USA Today app. If you can see it there. It's really nice. It uses the whole screen. It gives you all the information that you need right there all together. Now let me show you an iPhone app that has been scaled up. It's just not a good experience. Here's what it looks like, and then as Scott Forstall showed, you can hit the button down in the corner and make it larger. It's really pixelated. It's not good to use. So you really, you can use them in a pinch, but it's not a quality experience. I'm only using I'm only using iPad apps virtually on the iPhone. A couple streaming audio apps that aren't available for iPad yet, like iHeartRadio, as you see here. And you see, it's still loading. The experience is not what I was expecting an iPhone app to look like on an iPad. The keyboard option has been getting a lot of publicity about having a keyboard. Oh, we can now supports Bluetooth. I wrote an entire article, which I'm going to be posting either later today or early tomorrow, from the iPad's keyboard. I think it's fantastic. The ability to have that predictive text input method, like on the iPhone, is a much better way of text input than having to be dead on accurate with the keyboard. As I mentioned before, I am a BlackBerry user. I would love it if BlackBerry, even with a keyboard, still had predictive text and and spell check, spell correction, and these services, even with a keyboard, because when you're typing fast, you're not always accurate. So these kind of features I would like to see implemented again into macOS 10 and to other, which the iPad does really well and the iPhone does spectacularly. Video on it is great. It's a quality experience, much better than on the PC. Remember, Steve Jobs told us that it has to be a better experience than an iPhone and a Mac. Otherwise, it doesn't need to exist. Safari is fantastic. There's no flash. Not finding this to be so much of a problem on web pages, daily surfing, things of that nature. When you start looking at videos, on Engadget.com a lot, they have videos. They use Vimeo, which is a flash-based player. They don't show up. It's kind of annoying. I have to go to my Mac to see a video. Not an enjoyable experience. But everything else, surfing, the browser is very fast. It's very fluid. You don't get much checkerboarding unless you're really flipping fast through the pages. You don't get that checkerboard like on the older iPhones and basically every other mobile device. The closed platform gives you a quality experience, but it does take a lot away from what you can do. For instance, on Windows Mobile, there is a browser called Skyfire. You can download completely free, and it does flash. On a device it does flash well on a device similarly powered to an iPad. You can't get that on the iPad or iPhone store because Apple simply won't allow a browser to compete with its own. It is very anti-competitive. Apple says it's because we don't want to duplicate functionality. Okay. However, you have 37 calculator apps, 47 note apps, and 15,000 of the same app that duplicate functionality. You want your browser to succeed, and without competition, your browser will succeed. It is a fantastic browser. There's no question. Mobile Safari is the best mobile computing browser on the market, barring none, even better than their desktop browser. But they're not letting it compete in an open market. That's going to be a detriment to the future of the platform, in my opinion. We've seen what the EU did with Microsoft. Microsoft has been told that it must now allow what they call a browser ballot screen. So whenever you start Windows now in Europe and other countries around there, you're going to get a ballot where you have to pick which browser to install, whether you keep IE, go to Firefox, Opera, Safari, Chrome, which browser you want to use, letting you know that there are other options besides Internet Explorer. One of the downsides to this, and again, I understand that this is an Applecast, but it ties in pretty closely, is it only shows up if you have IE set as the default. If you have Firefox set as default, this option never shows up, which is curious and is not the way you want to do it, which is why government regulation I don't think is the best way to go for a lot of these sort of things. Apple is getting dangerously close to being anti-competitive, but the government getting involved is not the best solution. It has crippled Windows to the point where there's no mail client. You're being told to use something other than Internet Explorer. There's no Movie Maker client. There's no... all of the things that you buy a computer for, as I mentioned before. Computers are app centers. You're not getting on a stock Windows build, whereas Apple can bundle all of these services and really shove it in Microsoft's face. What else? Running out of time here. The iPad, you're going to have to try it. It's heavier than I expected. It's a fantastic ebook reader. There are things that are in the ebook reader app that really make it a quality experience. I was listening to the Engadget podcast, and when you swipe down to turn a page, it's so intimate and responsive, as Josh Topolsky from Engadget was talking about. When you touch the page in the corner, it kind of bends and folds down, and it's so like reading a book that it really is a fantastic, and Apple has really nailed it. Like I said, check one out. I think it is the future of computing.